What's up, guys? Chimp here, and I want to record a very quick market update. And I'll cut to the point. First of all, I'll say that the prices continue to go up despite me feeling extremely cautious about this market. I think it's up like 10% or so since I went strongly about that view. But I still hold that view, and I'm gonna show you some things here, which again have me very concerned. And before I show those things, like it's very rare times where you get a situation where sentiment is bullish, everything sort of coalesces and the price ends up going up. And typically speaking, like the potential energy from that can't last forever. Now that being said, like clearly we're in clearly like we're in price discovery, some would say, because we just made a new high a couple hours ago. But what are some of the signs that I'm seeing that are a bit more concerning? I'm gonna first start with this chart, and this is probably the most concerning chart, I'd say, which is global open interest. Now, before I show the chart, I think basically everyone knows like alts across the board have been pumping. It's not just Bitcoin. If this was a Bitcoin led rally where alts weren't pumping, I'd actually be a lot more inclined to say like this is a new paradigm. We're gonna go higher, and being bearish is like super dangerous. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. This is a rally that's basically every asset going up only, every asset, you know, pumping like crazy. You can look at all these charts, right? Like Bitcoin included, you're not even getting like $1,000. You're getting like, if you bought Bitcoin at any point in the last, I don't know, week or whatever, like, and your liquidation price was $2,000, or let's just go with 3,000 because I think the 3,000 number is right. But for most of the time, 2,000 would suffice. But if you bought at any point and your liquidation was $3,000 below the current market price, you would not be liquidated. So essentially, we're like in an environment where people have been continuously getting rewarded to long, and the price has been going up only, right? And also not just Bitcoin, all these alts, and that has me really concerned. And I just want to show you like what is going on. So this is aggregated open interest. Clearly, some of this has like when prices go up, like there's some level of just like if open interest on Bitcoin is remains flat, like global open interest would go up. But that's not the only thing going on here. At the lows, and again, like I was one of the people who was bullish at the lows. Like I did not see a reason to be bearish. And I only really flipped like cautious slash bearish once we got to like 110, 112. Like I really thought like we're starting to see the signs of I don't know if you say a bubble, but you start seeing signs of some levels of exuberance. And I think like what we're seeing now has clearly like surpassed that. So I think most would agree that like last December or so was like basically the peak of speculation. And global open interest at that point basically got to around 93 billion. And if you look now, like in the last, you know, 3 or 4 days, like global open interest has gone up 20 billion units. Like this isn't just a Bitcoin like speculation that's going on. This is like everyone is speculating on every coin. There's like massive leverage starting to build up at this point. And I'll show you another point in regards to that. Let me load up stablecoin open interest here. This is just on Bitcoin. And like some people might say, oh, well, people are shorting or whatever. You can literally see it on the Bitcoin chart. Like the first time when we broke 115, yeah, a lot of shorts got popped, right? Like when we broke 115, you had like combined like 17,000 BTC of shorts get liquidated. Today, when we broke 120, that number was like 5,000 Bitcoin, right? So the shorts are basically giving up. Like there's no one really like shorting this asset for the most part. I think most of this open interest is longs. I think people are like longing micro dips and pyramid longing and getting long alts, you know. And I don't think this is gonna end well. Like I don't want to say this, and this might sound like ridiculous to say at this current point, but I feel like when this move is all said and done, like we could be looking at a very long period of a top. Um, And look, like, again, consider the sentiment at the lows, at the FTX lows, at the 26K lows, back in at the end of 2023, at the sub 60K lows last summer, at the 70 to the basically the 80K lows in April, like March, April, and compare the sentiment today, like it's night and day. And one of the big things that's been fueling this, besides the treasury, so like we'll see how much Saylor buys tomorrow, but clearly like the treasuries are running out of money. Like I think Garovich is the biggest buyer nowadays, like Metaplanet, and he's bought, I don't know, like he bought less than 1,000 Bitcoin last week. I've I haven't seen him issue more debt or etc. So I don't know like if he's hitting ATMs or whatever, but clearly like his runway is running very thin. Now, let's see how much Saylor bought. If it's another 50 or 100 million this past week, like he's probably out of runway too. Now, one of the reasons this run has been going like to such an extent is because of ETF flows. And ETF flows, like this is something I pointed out. Like at the lows, ETF flows stabilized, like the outflow stabilized, and price like ultimately ended up rocketing. But these flows have gone crazy, right? We've had like 17, 18 billion in net flows. Again, like some of these buyers are like buy and holds, but a lot of these buyers are also basically like speculators. And I think that if you ever end up getting a sneeze in like stocks or etc., and again, like I'm not gonna point to all the research, etc., but I think there's a very good argument to be made that unless there's like hyperinflation, you're probably gonna get a stock market top, you know, in the next 2 or 3 years if you're being like conservative, and if not, like a lot sooner. And this is not something I like try to predict, but it's something I've been like reading into a lot more recently. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not putting together the most coherent argument here, but what am I seeing? I'm seeing every coin go crazy. I'm seeing open interest rocket like an absolute like maniac. I'm seeing people redefine what they think a dip buy is. Like, when we were at 19K, I saw everyone like wanting to buy the dip at 14. And there's probably some people that are sidelined, and there's probably some people that are pyramid longing. And when this market ultimately tops, it's not going to be, by the way, the first dip that kills people. It's going to be the second and the third dip. It's going to be when people buy. Like what happens typically in these situations, someone buys the dip and then it dips again. And that's kind of what takes them out. And you get this sort of cycle repeating. Now, I wanted to just mention one other thing, which is like, what does this sort of, what are some of the considerations here, and what does this sort of feel like? So I think one thing is fair to say, which is like liquidity is dog shit here. So like if you get a big buyer in the shadows buying Bitcoin, like yeah, he can push the price up probably easier than normal because the liquidity is just horrendous. On the flip side, like you have the buying slowdown and you have a seller come in, like this thing can teleport down just as easily. What this feels like to me, and again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, is sort of like the melt up we had here, and sort of like the melt up we had like Feb, March. Like I shouldn't even circle all of it. This is really the leg that it feels like, and not even that leg because it was more so Bitcoin driven. Like this leg, and especially this leg. Like I remember once we broke 65K, like froth just started going insane. Like everyone was longing everything. Like shit was getting super frothy. Similar here, right? Like Doge was running, etc. But like, when did everyone start longing alts and everything else and going haywire? It's kind of like near like once it started going up, and you could have longed at 65 or 66 and closed at 73. Like I don't know where we are. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Are we at 66 or are we at 73? Are we at 91K or are we at 103K? Right? Like, where are we? I don't know. We could go higher from here. Could we go to 130? Yeah, it's possible. But I think like when you look at everything, the question you have to ask yourself is like, does the risk reward make sense here? Like, are you playing sort of for the last drops? Like, is the bull market finally starting now after Bitcoin's pulled an almost 10x off the 17K lows? People can go back and read my Twitter feed. I was posting like the most ridiculous bullish shit at 16K. When I see crypto in the markets, like crypto markets now, like it's screaming like warning sign, warning sign, warning sign. And I don't know how to say like whether 123 is going to be the top or 126 or 128 or we go to 135 or 140. I don't know. Right? It's possible we go that high. But when I think about like everything that we're seeing here in terms of every coin pumping, sentiment max bullish, like you have a backdrop which is Goldilocks, right? Like stocks have been up only, everything's been up only. Like when you look at what's going on there, like again, and now it's a new paradigm, right? Like things can't get worse. Like we're going to 250, we're going to 600, like new global reserve currencies. So like when I look at all these factors, it's just screaming like major caution flag. And I don't know, again, it's 122 the top or whatever. I'm pretty sure if you sell at these levels, you're going to be able to buy lower, if not significantly lower at some point. And I don't know what this market looks like if you have that level of open interest unwind and you have ETFs start to outflow. Like, is a 30% dip, a 40% dip on the table? Like, personally, I think so, but hey, it's anyone's, best guess, right? Anyways, I thought I'd put this video out there. Clearly, I've been wrong. Feel free to take anything I'm saying into consideration if you want. Feel free to take none of it into consideration. Feel free to counter trade it if you want. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to release these videos, sort of post my thoughts, and to go from there. So anyways, guys, appreciate it. And until next time, take care.